Okay, we're now here with David Hillberg, candidate for governor. Welcome, David. Tell us a little bit about your campaign.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and welcome to all those who will view this video. I've been basically a Californian all my life. I've served in the military, law enforcement in both the LA County Sheriff's Department and Border Patrol as a helicopter mechanic. I grew up here, basically, that's redundant, I keep saying that. I went to school. I was basically mechanically inclined. I've been very good at mechanical things. And over the years, I've watched the state just slowly degrade itself to the point of lunacy. Many of the problems that people are looking today are actual symptoms of the problems where our politicians go in, and instead of making something good for the state, they made something good for themselves and let the state suffer. The fires, the water, the energy, the pollution, the many unaffordable housings, the homeless stuff, it's all basically created from the very beginning when one politician who came out here goes, I'm going to make California the best welfare state in the nation. And you just have to roll your eyes at that. And this was back a long time ago. The Republican Party. They go, we're not going to support any candidates in California because they will lose. So they stopped supporting any candidates way back in the 70s. And now over the years, we had this one party rule where they secured their holds on the entire state by gerrymandering the districts, by changing voting laws, by saying, oh yeah, well, let the two highest people who get the votes go into office. And now they're all just the same party people of the high tops that are getting in. Voter corruption started back in the Diebold days, and now we have Dominion. But a lot of the people I've noticed are doing things that are contrary to law, including our politicians, or the conditions where they let prisoners out. They've actually lowered no bail for minor offenses. They've made many felonies, misdemeanors, which allow criminals to infest our streets. And of course, our politicians, they have, all the security they need. They have a lifestyle that they've had for years, which is an envy of anybody in the world. And basically, we have political parties and none of us are invited. You could speak your voice to them, but it just goes into a big dark hole of Calcutta. You ask for an answer and you don't even get an echo. It's just gone. The reason why I started running was the day I put my vote in for the presidency and had my vote disallowed, and I looked at the election laws, and either our webmaster at the Secretary of State didn't change the law when they should have published it, when the time they should have passed it. But I heard later on that they passed and changed the law 3 months after the election. So when Gavin was out there saying we're going to have mail-in ballots, well, the old law stated the use of non-solicited mail-in ballots in use for California for any election is prohibited. Well, about 3 months ago, they finally changed a law that they're on the books. And I don't know, because a law is not supposed to be carried out until it's published. That's my understanding of it, dealing with law enforcement and that. So it's like, okay, what happened, folks? And I made my complaint to the Secretary of State and up and down the chain of command. And still, the black hole of Calcutta sucks in everything you ask and nothing. We don't even have a redress. High-speed rail, they should have killed that 30 days after they found out it couldn't do what the law states it should do. And now it's back on again, and they're just rifling money between the contractors and the local politicians and their heirs and kin, just going and doing eminent domain on private property and making a mint while they drain the lakes and disbanded 4 hydroelectric plants when we need power and we need water, and they're just dumping it overboard into the ocean. So the homeless, that started way back, and it's all the problems you see in California today is an absolute trace and sourced back to bad policies, politicians taking money and putting it in their back pocket for campaigns. And a lot of people complain, oh, he went to the French Laundry and didn't have a mask in this. I don't care if he went there. I don't care if he wore a mask or not. I just ask, who paid the bill? That's an expensive restaurant, and with politicians limited to $200 in gifts a year, who paid what? And it's been going on for years. Travel junkets to foreign countries, making deals with foreign countries and not using the elected office of the United States to do foreign commerce. They're the ones, the federal government's the ones that make deals with nations, not the state. So my goal, if I ever get into office, is written right in the Constitution of California. I will enforce law and support the Constitution of the United States and that of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And this includes politicians, because we have bad parents up there in Sacramento and DC now, and the criminals look up to them and say, we can get away with anything. Well, what would happen if a governor walks in and says, okay, we have 3 solutions for the problems we have. 1, you guys can get together and start correcting it. 2, you could resign. Or 3, you can be thrown in jail for hazarding the nation and hazarding the state and citizens within. And between PG&E and the environmental group, Newsom packed his wallets and that with campaign money, let everything go fallow, let the power company basically not upgrade their equipment because the PUC wasn't allowed to go in and make their corrections. And 83 people died. And tens of thousands were made homeless. Now, what was that all about? And they blame climate change? Guess what? The climate's always going to change. I was waiting for the ice age. I still am under Carter. So it's the idea of climate change is a fault. No, the government must make adaptations for climate change, not the citizens. The government goes, oh, we need more power. Well, they're out buying power from green energy, which isn't even in effect yet. They're closing down power plants. What's going on here? Who's passing the money along? So that's why I'm running, because I'm tired of the BS of our politicians just looting and raping our future. And it's up to the citizens to take care of each other, not big government.
Okay, well, that's a lot. So let me ask, given that your background is in law enforcement, I got to believe that's a big part of the reason you're entering this race. The crime situation in the major cities, especially in California. Is there anything the governor's office should or can do about this?
Well, they should have done it many, many years ago, which is actually enforce law and support the Constitution. Yet they don't bother letting the police do their jobs. When I was with the Border Patrol and Sheriff's Department, many times they said, stand down, don't do anything. And you should see the look on their face. It's like, we're not allowed to do our jobs. We can't help the citizens out. And all these criminals, the 91 riots, LA County, all the county buildings were protected. Many of the city buildings of LA City were burned up. And the surrounding counties started to have riot problems. Well, law enforcement in the surrounding counties, they had a different tact on it. They had a tactic of, you loot, we shoot. And they didn't take any crap from anybody. It's like, if you're breaking the law, we're going to arrest you. And if you resist, we're going to use as much force as necessary to quell what is there. And, LA became such a political hot dog football. And what for? Rodney King was a felon with several felonies and arrest warrants out for him. He was accompanied with other felons, which is basically a parole violation. And it would be glommed onto him like he was the victim. I mean, you get hopped up in PCP, you're out of control. And he was. But the media and everybody else goes, oh, poor poor minority. You know, this minority crap has gone long and far enough. We are all citizens. We all bleed red. And why do we have to sit there and basically deny Martin Luther King his rightful speech of what is the content of a man's character? And that's gone out the window. And it's part of the woke crowd, part of the political correctness stuff. And that just has to stop.
Okay. So you mentioned the forest fires when you were talking, and you know, it's a summer day here in California, and I've been looking out my window all day and seeing what looks like clouds, but I know it's smoke up high in the air. The forest fire season started early. Is that something that could be addressed a little better at the state level? What do you think?
Well, they need to actually let the Forest Service do their job. The environmentalists said, we want everything to be natural. Well, it's okay. What about the invasive species that came in over the years? All the brush and all the undergrowth that grows so rapidly and dies yearly, and it creates a mat underneath the trees, which is combustible. And then we had the fires several years ago where they weren't even allowed to pull the dead trees out or to thin the forests out using the lumber companies to actually pick and choose trees that needed to be removed because they're dying or dead, have the bark beetle in them, or were burned. And when they're burned, the outside's burnt, but the inside lumber's still good. And you have only a certain amount of time to do that. People go, oh, environment. Well, the Salton Sea was made by an accident, and now it's a nature preserve, protected. But that was an accident by man. So people have to realize we have to work with nature and not let nature take us over. So all these fires are basically created by nature or by arson. But in the old days, the Indians used to burn sections of land, or forestry department used to burn sections of land, and they're not allowed to do it, or they have no budget to do it. So, you know, that's when politicians take money, put it in the back pocket and say, okay, we're not going to fund this, unfund that, which it all could be tied to the unfunded liabilities of CalPERS and CalSTRS. And, you know, until you have a good, you know, budget where you can actually do stuff and things, because I don't have no idea where the money's going, and I don't think Sacramento does either.
Yeah.
You know, they go to the deep pockets and keep raising our taxes, but where's it going?
Okay, well, I have one last question for you, and that is, how do people get a hold of you if they want to find out more about your campaign or offer their support?
Well, I have my phone number, 714-580-7486. And I can be reached on the email, which is davidhillberg@yahoo.com. I don't have a campaign. I don't have a budget. I signed the Form 501, which limits me to $2,000. And the Form 470 says, you know, do you have any campaigns and all that stuff? And that's it, folks. I ain't got one.
Okay. Bare bones campaign, yes. All right, well, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for that. And, you know, good luck with the election.
Thank you. And, you know, you have a great day, and, you know, basically, if you can't live with each other, you know, might as well have fun.